This video is brought to you by Be Quiet and the Dark Power Pro 12 power supply in 1500 and 1200 watt versions featuring 80 plus titanium efficiency, fully digital control, patented frameless Silent Wings fan, full mesh PSU front with a redesigned funnel shape opening, an overclocking key for switching between single and multi-rail operation, Japanese 105-degree capacitors, in an aluminum case with individually sleeved modular cables and a 10-year warranty. Hello and welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 598, being recorded on September 24th, 2020. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I may still be Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm definitely Josh Walraff.
I'm Brett Van Spernberg, occasionally known as Propa Naz.
Yes, if you read YouTube comments, you'll understand that. And if you want to find out when we go live for things like this, and we were a little bit late tonight, but the email did go out. You can sign up for our, call it the spam list, the notification list. You get an email if we're going to go live, usually about an hour or so beforehand for the podcast and other live events. You can support the site on Patreon. And Brett, I believe we have a return, the return of Jeremy Hellstrom.
Hooray! We do.
Patreon fold.
Big round of applause for Jeremy Hellstrom. You could just add that in post.
Cheers. Oh, the applause? I'll have to find
Yes.
some public domain or royalty-free applause, yes.
Royalty-free applause.
Or just record myself doing this like 100 times.
Yeah,
overdub it.
Yeah. If I could just do one hand.
Sadly, we
clapping.
can't afford to hire a SEAL to do it for us.
No, which would be great, actually. That would be really, really awesome. And then a new Patreon
yes,
member.
you've been alone all day. I know. I'm sorry.
Brother Michigan. And if you wanted, if you had it, you could show that picture I sent you just to show what we do for really special patrons.
I'll add it in post.
You can add it in post. So that's something for people to look at later. And I may have made a horrible mistake in saying that I'm going to do that. But yeah, I'll have some commentary on that later. So you have to come back.
Now, normally we'd have a burger update right now. That's next on our criteria, our list.
You want to see what Josh did with Five Guys?
No.
We don't. We don't want to see the aftermath.
Nope.
We have no
Plus,
burger
we don't
pictures this
have
week.
Five Guys here.
What happened, Josh? Why wasn't there a burger this week?
The guys had to tear up their kitchen floor and replace it, so it's been closed.
Ooh. Oh no.
Yeah.
At least it's not being closed like permanently. Just kitchen floor.
Correct.
At least that's the
Depends on
story.
the contractor.
A thing happened again this week. This time it's the RTX 3090, and we're not going to spend 40 minutes talking about that. I don't have one for review. I think the speculation about what the performance was going to be like was spot on because, hey, it's 10 to 20% faster than a 3080. It's this odd kind of prosumer product, right? Where it doesn't have the Titan feature set, but it's a little bit faster than a 3080, but it's a lot more money.
Yeah, if they hadn't positioned it as a gaming card, I think they'd be in much better shape, honestly.
Well, one person actually did get some productivity testing done. And it was...
I think JC got some as well. But he did a bunch of Blender stuff with...
Yeah, TechGauge was doing Blender. The BMW rendering went from 28 seconds down to 23. Mr. Elephant, 127 down to 102. So, I mean, there's a definite bump, but it's like the gaming. It's not a 100% bump. It's a healthy 20-25% though.
Let's all look at Nate's awesome photos here. Nate from Legit Reviews did a full retail Founders Edition 3090 review today. It's a nice looking card. It's just so ridiculously oversized.
It's monstrous. But I'll tell you what, that cooler is really damn good on the FE. And the thing is just robust. Doesn't move. That's got to be like 5 pounds on that one rather than 3 on the 3080.
So anyway, yeah, not huge gains. I think everybody kind of knows already what the 3090 brings to the table. It's that. Oh,
Yeah, a lot of
Hey,
weight.
Kitty. Wow, they're awful excited to see you.
they can join in. I want to hear what they have to say about the 3090 launch. And the sales are brisk, as Brett so sarcastically mentions in our show notes here.
Yeah, I put a link in there. Why don't you click through to that?
Yep, it's on the screen. Looking at out of stock. Let's see, out of stock.
Oh my gosh, out of stock, and at $1,800. Why didn't I buy more?
Oh, look at this.
They
Gigabyte
go
has
as
one from
fast as they sell out.
MSRP. Is that the only one at $14.99? I think so. So there will be at least one card in theory at $14. Oh, here's another one. The MSI Ventus. Oh, Tough Gaming. Look, I missed them. They're all at the beginning. I scrolled right past them. So there's four cards right now at $14.99, which you can't buy because they're out of stock. But yeah.
Yeah. Now, so this morning, me and like 6 other coworkers, we all got online and we were waiting, and we had people on Amazon, Nvidia Spot, and Newegg, all these places. And as soon as 6 a.m. Pacific time did, we refreshed, we hit add to cart. By the time we did check out, I mean, they were all gone. They were all removed from your cart.
Ouch.
Doesn't matter. It was just the bots were on top of it. Anything that Nvidia and Newegg said they did, it certainly didn't. Because it was, it was all of us trying to do one thing, and it just didn't work. I mean, we know that quantities are limited, and these will slowly be coming out, and eventually, probably by the end of the year, people are going to be able to buy them. But until that point, it's going to be, you're going to have to be really lucky. You got to know somebody. Then maybe you can get one.
Moving on to the sole review of the last few days, Samsung's 980 Pro launched. Samsung finally enters the PCI Express 4.0 fray, and it's fast. I only had the 500 gigabyte drive to test, and it's still pretty freaking fast. We're talking, sequential here with fairly high queue depths. It was able to hit about 68-ish hundred, so about 6.8 gigabytes per second max. It didn't quite reach the 6900 that this particular model is supposed to be able to hit, but they do their testing at like queue depth 32. I could have done that to try to validate. But anyway, it's fast. It's close enough to 7,000 megabytes per second. But very important to look at the 4K random, like here's single and 16 thread. This is stuff you get just from Crystal Disk Mark that I'm looking at here, but pretty big gains if you're looking at the MP600, which is that Phison E16 controller. That combination of that and TLC memory that we've seen from every other drive that's come out so far. And of course, there is that new faster drive with the E18 controller coming out from Sabrent soon. It's not on the market yet. That's potentially going to be the fastest drive, but right now the Samsung is. And what I wanted to talk about really, because you can look through the review, there's a lot of other reviews that are more in-depth than ours. I just did some quick testing here with the disclaimer that I am not Alan Malventano, and I can't even hope to recreate one of his storage reviews, but
Alta Montevino?
Yeah, I'm not even Alvin Maltavino, no.
Yeah.
But the TLC aspect, they're calling it 3-bit NAND, 3-bit MLC in the specs. It's TLC. This is essentially an Evo drive.
But a Pro.
But it's
called a Pro.
Yeah.
So what's happening to the Evo?
I don't know. Here's my theory about that. What if Evo moves to QLC with a giant SLC cache?
Possibly, but odd.
I don't know what else they would do to differentiate them, because unless like the whole drive encryption thing, I don't know some of the pro level features on this that could set it apart, but this is TLC with SLC cache. That's been the formula for Evo since the beginning. And they haven't announced an Evo drive in the 980 yet. Last time they launched 970 Evo alongside 970 Pro. And that was the difference, MLC versus TLC. Performance is great, but once you're out of SLC cache, it drops significantly. Writes would drop to about 1,000 megabytes a second.
Then that's still not entirely slow. But when you're looking at a 980 Pro, you just kind of wonder where they're coming from with that. I know you talked about it a little bit earlier, but it's that gets pretty slow. And I mean, everybody else has got TLC cache. I mean, the Sovereign 4.0 stuff and then the next generation of Phison. I mean, it's all going to be using TLC. I mean, who's going to differentiate from this stuff? I mean, these next generation controllers are finally getting to where they need to be with PCIe 4.0. But, once you start getting to corner cases and some of these, heavy duty writes, it's just, you should go and bug Alan for some of his scripts and stuff. And, of course, graphing is a pain in the butt, especially if you don't have the level of knowledge that Alan does on hard drives. It's going to be interesting, but yeah, I don't, we're in a strange new world, but at least everything's cheap.
Although this has a premium attached where if you look at the cheapest drives on the market that are Gen 4, they started at about $99 for a 500 gig class. And this is $150. So $50 above. The median price is closer to about $120. So it's about a 25% increase over the average drive price. I did notice that the Sabrent drives are dropping with coupons on Amazon, but it's still Phison E16. I'd personally hold out for E18 with that plus drive that's coming. But I mean, if you're going
or
with
just
Sabrent
another PCIe 4.0 storage controller.
Yeah,
like
wouldn't it
one
be
other
nice?
one.
Silicon Motion was working on one. They've shown it in the past. The last time I saw an update, I think was in 2019.
They've been awful quiet.
Yeah, there's.
I wonder what controller Seagate's using for the Xbox expansion, because that's a PCIe 4.0 by 2.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for $220 for 1 terabyte.
I've been sniffing around the specs. Apparently, some of the upgraded drives are significantly more expensive. I didn't see a number, but someone was really upset. But I've been sniffing around the specs to see if anyone will release what they're using. But it's not a console thing to do, is to come out and say, oh, and by the way, you should prefer the Xbox because it's got this storage controller on it.
They've been pretty tight-lipped about that.
What if they have the E18 early? Because Seagate works with Phison. Because their FireCuda 520 is Phison E16.
And they know that those will sell out like Amperes.
And it's not horrible for a PCIe 4.0. It's competitive with the Samsung.
Yeah.
All right, let's pause right here to hear a word from our sponsor this week.
Supercharge your team with the power of Text Expander. Your team can do more with the same resources, with less repetition, fewer errors, and greater consistency that'll have your team feeling like they've hopped off a bicycle and into a Ferrari. And Ferraris are good. Keep your team consistent, accurate, and current. Share your text and images with the whole staff to keep them on track. Everyone will share the same message and give the same answers to all customer questions, and that's good. Work faster and smarter. Use Text Expander's powerful shortcuts and abbreviations to streamline and speed up everything you type. Create powerful snippets that save you time so that all you do is type a short abbreviation, and Text Expander does the rest of the typing for you. Keep your whole team communicating efficiently and with consistent language. Share your snippets of messaging, signatures, and descriptions with everyone who works on projects with you. Text Expander is available on Mac, Windows, iPhone, iPad, and even Chrome OS. Show listeners to this podcast get 20% off their first year. Visit textexpander.com/podcast to learn more. Thanks. Back to the show.
And we're back.
Yeah, we are. Isn't
And we're
that
back.
remarkable?
Yeah.
We're all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. We're going to talk over each other. It's going to be great.
Let's start
We're
the
not
show.
going to. Yeah, we're never going to do that. Next up, OnLogic. Josh.
Me. So, there's this little company called OnLogic in New Hampshire, I believe. And I'd never heard of them until last week. But apparently they're pretty decent little company when it comes to industrial type servers. And they're making an announcement with AMD that not only are they supporting their EPYC processors, the latest generation stuff, and some of their more ruggedized servers and their 1U and their 1.5U and their 2U racks that can be in more industrial use or in areas with lots of dust or stuff that you can actually mount to a wall of a wind turbine, for example. stuff like that. And it's, it's a small company still, but they locally source all their hardware. It's organic.
Did you say organic?
No, they don't.
From manufacturer
just
to
wanted
table.
to see if we were listening.
Is it grain fed? Is this free range?
Free range
fab to
motherboards.
table, I guess.
Yeah. Cage free RAM. So all of these things that are good for you. But it's a small company. They're pretty agile in what they're able to do, and their designs are actually really cool. If you go through and take a look at some of their ruggedized platforms, things like the case is a big heat sink, and they have an interesting color scheme, and they've got good ways to keep dust out of your stuff. And the interesting part about this is that they're actually doing regular desktop Ryzen CPUs as server chips, and AMD's actually kind of supporting them in this. And this is kind of a big deal because you can get a serious amount of horsepower for not a whole lot of money in a more server class product. They have other add-ins with KVMs and I can't remember the PIO something, or the remote management type stuff.
Lights out kind of
all
stuff,
those are kind of integrated into these Ryzen motherboards and processors that are not really there in desktop versions, but you'd have to go up to Epic and some of these server boards with that kind of functionality. And so this is a neat little offering that are relatively inexpensive, and their products look really well integrated and well rounded. And so OnLogic's going to be kind of an interesting little group to keep watch on and see if they grow, because they've been very, very focused on what they do. They were started in like 2003, where they were just kind of a run-of-the-mill PC parts seller, and then they started getting into custom systems, and then they somehow got into industrial type server stuff, and they hire engineers to do very specific work to make sure thermals and dust and electrical shock and just physical shock do not affect their designs nearly as much as just standard servers. So it's neat that they're embracing Epic, but they're also embracing Ryzen. So these are very, very cost-effective platforms, and it's one that we're actually kind of looking for a job that we're thinking of, not PC perspective, but my other work with monitoring wind turbines and essentially running off solar power and having these things in the middle of deserts and arid regions, as well as potentially the ocean. So it's neat stuff, and they seem to make a pretty good little product for not a whole lot of money. It's neat stuff.
Good for them.
Glad they reached out. Gonna keep an eye on them.
Well, another thing that happened
in the server space.
Yes, more ARM powered servers, Jeremy. The Neoverse.
How many cores do you want
all
per socket?
The cores. I want all of them.
Is 80 enough, or are you more of a 96 type person?
Can I have more?
You can have 96.
No more than 96. Yeah,
96.
That's still a lot.
Yeah.
I feel slightly sated at 96 cores.
Yeah. So, and I'm desperately trying to keep the kitten from unmuting me and doing other horrible things as I'm talking. But yeah, so you've got Oracle that is going with one that we've already seen, Ampere's Ultra. We've seen a little bit of the peak towards it. They're 7 nanometer fab chips, so not brand new, but still, it's 80 cores per socket. You've got a dual socket server setup available. So in a single 1U, you've got 160 bloody cores that are hitting up to 3.3 gigahertz straight across. So, it's not like ARM's stuck on the low processing power, just low power usage. Each of them has 128 PCIe 4.0 lanes. So Intel, once again, is, kind of glaring at the competition and wondering one day this will happen. And 4 terabytes of memory per socket. So if you've lost count, that is 256 PCIe 4.0 lanes, 160 cores, and 8 terabytes of memory.
Did you say 4 terabytes?
Per socket.
So that's 8 terabytes.
It is capable of, yes. And it's using. They didn't really show the numbers of that in their presentation, but they're saying about 25 to 30% less power usage than the equivalent size processing capable solution from AMD or Intel, which is just
so essentially
insane.
they're comparing racks.
Yeah,
it's like you got a full rack of here, and you have X amount more processors, you've got X amount more memory, but you're also running 20% less power. And so you've got more threads, more overall performance. They've increased, IPC on these things. So single-threaded performance is a lot better than it used to be from ARM. And they've got they announced 2 different versions. The new is the Neoverse V1. Is that right, or is it the R1?
No, the Neoverse V1's out of Ampere, who's probably going to have to change their name soon.
Oddly enough.
Well, I mean, it's these are all generalized.
Well, no, absolutely.
Yeah. So V1 is their performance, where power is they don't care. They're going to raise it up there. You're going to get a 50% increase in single thread performance from their previous A72 based, I think, N1 or pre N1 products. And they also have SVE. I think it is a new kind of, it's like neon on steroids. It does all kinds of stuff. SIMD, MIMD, vector, AVX type stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of butchering all of this.
The funny thing is that it's fully compatible with all of the newer stuff coming out, and in almost every case, you don't have to worry about a lot of the vulnerabilities that we've been seeing on the AMD and in Intel side. They just don't do multi-threading that way. And of course, then you've got the N2, which is coming out. And the N2 is going
2022.
Yeah, 128 cores per socket. Now, one of the funny things about the V1 that you're talking about, or Zeus, as they decided to call it as well, you actually get to pick and choose what you want. So, do you want 7nm silicon or 5nm silicon? There are cost differences, performance, not so much performance, but heat differences between the two of them. You can pick what peak frequency you want, because these things, as most ARMs are they're configurable. What is it you want? We can do it. Which is, wild and wacky. And remember, not even 2 years ago, we were wondering if ARM could move into the server room and make a name for themselves?
Well, they already are. I mean, Graviton from AWS, it's in production. People are buying it. People are using it. It's there.
So this is consider that this is all done before NVIDIA is going to give them potentially a huge boost in the server space.
This is the question, right?
It is interesting to think about.
It's kind of funny because wasn't it last year or at the beginning of this year that the big thing was now CUDA can run on ARM?
Beginning of this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was January.
Yeah.
You announced that.
Coincidence?
Yeah. Maybe.
And then the other amusing thing, to go back to the Ultra, because I don't know if I mentioned it, it's Oracle that is putting together these, because they're not busy buying up everything else.
Oh, the TikTok company?
Well, they're trying to buy things up, but yeah.
Time's running out on that, though. So what they're doing, this is one of their bases for something they're going to be launching very soon to compete against Amazon Web Service.
Oh.
They're just going to appear out of nowhere and take over AWS, or, well, at least that's what some of them are thinking. And, well, it's Oracle. They've done stranger things in the past. And so they're smart enough that they're going to, you want Ice Lake Xeons? No problem. We can do that. You want to book a Milan-based Epic server? We can do that. You can't have it yet, but they're already taking pre-orders for them. And so you're allowed to bounce around with everything. One of them was interesting. It's a 64-core current Rome Epic with 2 terabytes of RAM, 24 terabytes of NVMe storage, and about 100 tensor cores with 40 gigs of RAM each, or an A100 tensor core chip. So stupid amounts of power. On the flip side, if you're running a small place and you're just doing a basic point of sale sort of thing, you will be able to go as low as a single core. You'll actually be able to rent on their new cloud a single core it's bizarre, but I kind of want to see AWS go away, or at least not be the only choice other than Azure, because personal reasons, I guess.
Single core sounds terrible, but then I think about every, like you point of sale you brought up, but most grocery stores, that sort of thing, that their infrastructure is very out of date.
Oh God.
And even a single core instance would be better than what they have, which is probably some
unpatched Windows XP.
Yeah, unpatched Windows XP embedded on like a sub 500 megahertz single core CPU.
Remember when
a lot of microservices that could very well be served by a single core with just a little bit of RAM and a lot of static infrastructure or static data that is occasionally accessed for not a lot of money. Even AWS supplies that now. But if you've ever used AWS's interface,
they didn't for the longest time.
Well,
and they don't like you for doing
it. No, because it's too cheap. But if you've ever used AWS's interface and been lost in it, you kind of understand that there's a place for somebody else to come on, on the industry and provide an easier to use solution that's just as scalable. So yeah, I can envision this might work for them.
All right, let us move on quickly. AMD rumors abound.
Oh my gosh!
Yes. Something fishy is going on.
Yeah,
as Tom's Hardware put it.
I don't think I've ever seen more ridiculous names.
Let's see. What are the names? We have Sienna cichlid,
which is a fish of some sort. Navy flounder. I guess that's a play on the whole fish thing.
Dim gray cavefish I'm holding out for.
Dim gray cavefish.
Insiders will know that someone with this name recently popped up on our public Discord server who was formerly known as Brother Michigan. But today he is Dim Gray Cavefish. But RX 6900 is codenamed Sienna Cichlid, according to the rumors. That's Navi 21 silicon, 80 compute units, as has been widely reported for Big Navi, which equals 5,120 streaming processors. And then Navy Flounder is presumably the name of Navi 22, which only has 40 compute units, so 2560 on the streaming processor count. That's the same as the 5700 XT. And then the Dim Gray Cavefish, they don't have any real numbers for, or even any speculation about it, apparently, at least not at this outlet. What do you think about the return of a 40 CU product? I mean, obviously, the next generation architecture will have major improvements with efficiency, power, performance, but
yeah, do you think that's like, I don't know, just a guess, is it 10%, 20%? So RDNA 2 40 CUs is going to be at same CU count 10% better than 5700 XT?
It'll be more than 10%.
But maybe it'll have ray tracing. It's going to have hardware ray tracing.
Yeah, it's going to have ray tracing of some sort.
Yeah, version 1 of ray tracing.
Yeah. So I've heard that their version is a little bit better than NVIDIA version 1.
Granted.
But we don't know how it compares to version 2.
Yep.
Because they've got at least, a little bit of hindsight 2020 when probably hearing initially and seeing, some of the software examples coming out to the partners. It's like, here's how you enable RTX and what it does, and they're like, maybe we need to redo some of this stuff. But that's just competition. But yeah, it's
when they're going
be
open like they did FreeSync as well, right? They're going more for the DX ray tracing compatible hardware as opposed to a proprietary NVIDIA.
Proprietary, yeah.
I can see their performance out of the gate being impressive as well if it's accompanied by, they have obviously the big resolution scaling push with Radeon image sharpening. They could try to promote ray tracing along with RIS and say, hey, here's an equivalent product to DLSS that doesn't require any AI overhead and, whatever. So that might be their marketing spin on that.
Oh, yeah. And I hope they're listening, but if, history proves they aren't. NVIDIA's really been pushing system latency. The idea that there is a difference between you making a mouse movement and it appearing on your screen. And so with the new Amperes, they've been pushing this for the most part on a per game basis. But the idea being that one day you'll be able to, with a G-Sync monitor, plug your mouse directly into your monitor and have it measure the latency. And therefore, you're going to get, not for us, but for the young people that still have the split millisecond reflexes. Now, AMD, on the other hand, has FreeSync going for them strong, or FreeSync 2 now, if you're shopping for something a little more modern. And there is possibly an idea here that they ignore the game. It's simply the graphics card talking directly to the monitor and monitoring the synchronization that way, not just necessarily saying that you're going to be removing the latency, but even to the point of, I'm running at this many frames, at this frame rate, monitor that's FreeSync 2, you're talking the same language I am, fix it now. And so I'm hoping that they're hiding something like this in the back and just not saying anything about it, because it's not impossible, but I don't know. I don't know if they can actually pull it off.
Oh, they've paid attention to some of their latency issues in the past. There's always hope.
What about Radeon anti-lag? Whatever happened there?
Yes, exactly.
What happened to it?
The one thing I wanted to mention was the whole memory bandwidth thing, because the specs, if you go to video cards,
192.
Yeah, 256 is top apparently, and then 192 for the
is
cut down.
Yep.
I also don't fully understand why 40 and 80, unless they're leaving room in the middle for a 64 CU product, depending on what their strategy is versus NVIDIA and what NVIDIA is waiting for with regard to AMD, because of course they're playing games with each other.
Yeah, it seems like a big gap.
Yeah.
And I can imagine the 80 CU unit easily being, 60+% over the top of 5700 XT, which in my mind places it pretty strongly near 3080 territory.
Here's what I don't get. Like already the current RDNA stuff is a little bandwidth starved as far as memory goes.
Mm-hmm.
If you can overclock the memory, you get better performance. We obviously saw that with the 5600 XT launch, either early this year or last year when they relaunched it with faster memory. You got much better performance, well above.
What a fiasco, but yeah.
It was, yeah. But I mean, you could overclock the core on that thing and you got very little.
But it was the
2%.
Memory.
If you overclock the memory, you got huge gains. So 256 on GDDR6 doesn't sound that great to me, because they're not on 6X and this is not an HBM product. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. So what is next on the list? Oh, okay, another acquisition. Microsoft is acquiring Bethesda Softworks and parent company ZeniMax.
It will make
Media.
Cortana better.
In all seriousness,
Now you'll get dialogue, please.
I honestly think this might improve some of the Bethesda software. Call me crazy.
Well, here's the deal. Microsoft needs to port Skyrim to Zune.
Wait, the return of Zune as a handheld gaming device?
It's about the only thing that
and a
Skyrim's
phone.
not ported to, so
You can't play Skyrim on Mr. Coffee yet, is the problem.
not yet.
Play it
Zune
on
made
a birth
brown
control
sexy,
or a birth.
okay? And that sounds weird, even as I say it, but the Zune was a nice-looking piece of hardware, and it was very brown
It was brown.
at first.
Did you ever see the picture of it floating in a toilet? It seemed at home.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be adding that visual.
Damn you.
$7.5 billion for this.
Yeah,
And
seriously.
it was only worth like 4.5 when they got bought out last time, which was
but
less
when
than
you
a year
have,
ago.
but when you have so many billions, what are you going to do with it? Taxes? Spend it.
This is just Microsoft. Microsoft probably had somebody inside the company who was upset that the liner notes weren't included with the Quake LP re-release the other day.
If you listen to their discussion when they talked about the acquisition, they said that, it's all about the people. We've been working together for so long, and we worked together really well, and, we were so synonymous with some of our launches, and you guys helped us, and we had a great party on your behalf, and hey, thanks for doubling up your memory and your Xbox, and we think you guys are great. And you know what? You guys are great too. Let's get together. That's kind of how it was.
Or Microsoft now owns, all the id properties. They have Fallout,
Yes.
gives them Wolfenstein and Doom, of course, and the Elder
Could have been
Scrolls.
worse. Could have been Disney.
Yeah, that's true. At some point, Disney just has to stop, right? Because then they'll just
No.
they'll own all media. I thought there were supposed to be laws to protect one company from taking over the world, but
Except for the mouse.
Yeah.
There's little exceptions written in.
Well, it's because they spend so much on lobbying every year and change laws. But oh wait, something about Fallout 4, sort of tangentially related story here.
Yeah,
Jeremy.
well,
What's a
Jeremy-
mod, not a DLC?
Oh, it is.
Oh, it's mod.
It's a DLC-sized mod that
Oh,
they've been
okay.
plugging away at for,
Oh.
2 or 3 years. But from the looks of it, it is just about done. And I mean, come on. Fallout on the beaches of Miami. What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong?
The usual stuff in Fallout.
Yeah.
That's what goes wrong.
Yeah. But, I mean, you get a 4-barreled shotgun.
And
Which is
aliens?
already available. You can already install that as a mod on just any other Fallout 4 that's going on. But it looks like a lot of fun. I mean, I've been bashing around with some of the other mods, and some of them, they may still be a little crippled, but literally they're still working on it and devoting a huge amount of time to try and fix any and everything that goes wrong with them. So it's kind of interesting to see what is going to happen with this one, which we don't have an exact release date. You can grab the original one from a couple of years back, which doesn't look anything as good as this, but gives you an idea what they're going to be doing, because of course it's not just a pretty new area. They've got a bunch of new factions to deal with. I'm sure you get to build something beautiful in the swamp and then sell it to somebody, maybe a bridge. They've got walking alligators, which is going to be a bad. Although I want to see one fight a death claw at some point.
Hey, Microsoft's not going to put the kibosh on any of the mods and DLCs community builds, do you think?
Oh, UWP totally supports modding.
Okay.
They love the community, Brett. Don't worry.
I am worried because I haven't
loves you.
really started my Fallout 4 campaign yet, so
You're fine. Just offline single player, then the experience is the same every time.
I think you're making fun of me now.
Yeah, New California.
No, I mean, there are lots of people who are
having issues. And Lord, we can only hope that there won't be that asshole showing up every once in a while saying that there is a settlement in danger.
I don't get the reference, but
You didn't play Fallout 4 then?
I did not.
No, me neither.
We are actually through
New Vegas.
all of the topics. And
I could have added more. I could have added more
for 43 minutes.
I could have added more, but you told me to stop the killing. Please don't kill anyone else, you said. Hey,
Okay.
Hey, what's that?
Ooh, looks like Josh's pick of the week.
Hey, Josh also has
Not
a
my
strong
pick
pair
of
of
the week.
arms.
Because you really can't get a hold of this very easily.
How are you holding it?
I got really lucky. Really lucky. It's the EVGA RTX 3080 XC3 Gamer, I think. It's the 3883 model. It is the $749 one. And the only difference between it and the $699, this one's got a backplate, and the $699 one doesn't.
Okay, so what I have pulled up is the wrong one then, because it does not. It's $699. So that means back.
Yeah,
no
that's the
backplate.
no backplate one.
Yeah, and I think they're going to probably sell very, very few of those, just enough to, get
Wait,
that $699. Hey, we've got a $699 offering.
Josh,
can't really
I
buy
have a
it.
notification on that one. Tell me when it's in stock. Tell me I'm a fool,
Okay.
aren't I?
You maybe, but I think that everybody else is going to have models that are going to be above that $699 price pretty consistently.
But is that like a gamer backplate, or is it a gamer gate?
Did it come?
who's
we're
asking?
just moving right along.
Name
Did it
Brianna?
come with a bracket? Did it
Does
come
it-
with this attractive bracket?
Does
in
the
box?
It does.
backplate
It does
do
have
you
a
any
bracket.
good there? Does the backplate do you any good? What is it doing for you there?
It doesn't actually touch any of the components except maybe in the back. There's
All right.
no, it doesn't
Does
touch
it
any
enhance the rigidity of the PCB?
Yes, it does.
See,
All right.
that's what you want.
This is not light.
You're saying I
That's
will
pretty
not get my
significant,
money's
man.
worth at $699 without a back plate.
And
Get
do
the
you
back.
remember back in the the Radeon
Hey, it has a mustache.
5870? It had the red stenciling around the back. Well, they've kind of gotten this, and so what is it like the Dodge Charger?
Oh yeah.
They've got the big rear lights kind of looking like that. So
People don't.
yeah,
people don't
we'll
like
be
it,
be
Josh.
plugging
They
this
don't want
into
red
the
on
test
their
bench.
NVIDIA card.
Hey, EBGA said they were going to send out different color covers
Oh,
for the
okay.
stripes and stuff, so you can.
personalize it.
Yep, Josh is going to match his RGB aesthetics. So I know he's all about the RGB.
Yeah.
Probably.
But no, that was the last thing to show off. I mean, it was a hard fought thing to try to get that, and I actually purchased it myself. So
I think
don't tell me why.
I think 99% of the people are really jealous.
Yes.
How many people did you have to kill to get that card?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Aren't you going to be really pissed when Big Navi comes out and it's better and half the price?
That would be nice. I would be happy.
I would be ecstatic.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jeremy, he could sell it for a profit used. and buy
Ah,
the
damn it,
Navi
you're right.
card.
Have you
could
seen
probably
the price
actually
of-
double your money right now, Josh?
Yeah, even though
Have you seen the price of 1080 Ti's?
Yeah, they're what,
It's
$1,200?
Well, $600.
Yeah.
even more than I thought.
Yep.
Josh, you had a more practical pick though. As I shift
Yes,
over.
it's on sale right now for $69. It's a Cooler Master all-in-one 240 millimeter twin fan monstrosity. I think I have the predecessor to this one, and it's another $10 off coupon that you can apply to it, and for $59 you have pretty good overall all-in-one cooling that is cheaper than some of the higher end air cooled units. So this is a nice it's a nice quality product that fits all kinds of stuff, and if you want slightly lower temperatures and a little bit less noise, these are nice units for the price.
It's been a while. I tested an ML240 a long time ago, and it was very quiet. The fans are very quiet. I can't remember if the pump was audible or not, but this is the sort of revised version, the L. So it's the newer version.
But cheap, dirt cheap, crazy.
Jeremy, you have a pick. I think I don't have a link.
It's because I'm desperately going because
Okay.
my other two are better.
Okay. Well,
Like I was gonna pick the power supply that I had to buy because as I got home from the pub on Monday and was unloading, I looked over because I heard this bang and saw this wee little fireball sort of arcing across my doorway. And I went and I looked, and sure enough, the old i7-920 was powered off, and I just immediately unplugged everything and took a look at it, and I don't even know if you can see it. Okay, it hasn't actually become a kiddie toy. I was worried that now there was a power supply running around somewhere in my house. See that black spot there? That shouldn't be there. That's a bad thing. That's
no
capacitor
bueno.
that got really, really mad and blowed up.
is that a vintage PSU, Jeremy?
Well, I mean, it powered the Q6600 as well.
Wow.
It was a Cooler Master 550, the P-Car E3. So it's been kicking for well over a decade. So I got no complaints about that at all.
What did you get to replace it?
Another Supernova.
Ah.
The old EVJ there, back there. Now they make pretty good ones. That one's been solid. I'm getting a kilowatt one because I might be upgrading soon and might want a little bit of extra juice.
Yes, especially if you're getting a 30 series, because those micro power bursts that people are starting to measure and talk about. I know
It's going to be
Igor's Lab
interesting.
talked about that. Like it'll go up to like 450 watts. The new 3090 will just momentarily.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also going to be interesting to see how it does with my first gen Threadripper 1900X too, because there are some also issues where the GPU gets bored of waiting for the CPU and the game crashes.
Yeah, that CPU is not enough for the 3090. I'm sorry.
Well, this is why I'm waiting until October to make any decisions, because there are certain things happening. And by Jove, by then, Jensen might even have some stock back. I'm not holding my breath, but it's possible.
Anything's possible. What is it? What is this about the interference issue?
So I want this TV. I want someone to find out what this bloody TV was. You may have heard about this on, yes, a variety of news channels. This is in Wales. There is a village that every morning at 7 a.m. lost internet. Boom, gone. British Telecom spent about a month trying to figure out why in the hell at every morning around about 7 a.m. boom, the DSL service died in the village. They replaced cables. They did tests. They hired new people to come in. They kept looking. Eventually started driving around in a van with a really, really fancy spectrum analyzer to try and figure out what's going on. And they found this one household with an ancient CRTV, which somehow was sending out a high-level impulse noise enough to frickin' knock out the entry, and it was positioned as such that this is the main line coming into the village for the internet, that it interfered with the whole input. Boom.
Was it a wooden case, furniture style TV?
It has to be.
It's got to be.
It has to be.
With
and
the
in Wales,
integrated
I bet you didn't have a TV license either. But I want to know what model this is, and I want to know if we can find it.
You bastard.
Not just for testing purposes. Nothing nefarious here.
Sure. Exactly.
But it's amazing. And it took them like over a year. Because, I mean, God knows. I had a specific office in Bellevue that would lose connection to the Wi-Fi randomly. And it was set on two sides with elevators in the middle. And after me and a network guy were down there specifically to do some upgrades and to try and figure out what the hell was going on, we realized that if an elevator was going down and coming up, it was enough to block the connection Wi-Fi from the source, which we weren't allowed to run away wires over to the actual office. And that was why it kept dropping off randomly, was because you had an intersection of the two elevators blocking the signal. And that was a pain in the ass to discover, so I can only imagine the frustration these guys felt before they found this out. Apparently, the man has promised to buy a new TV. I figure that the village should pretty much go in and buy him a new TV, because otherwise I'll just turn it on again.
Hey, you know what? Everybody who spends 20 years in IT support has one of those freaky stories.
So many. So yeah, if we have any Welsh fans, please, and I'm sure that you know the name of the village and can pronounce it, because it's probably got a single vowel in it and the rest are consonants. So I'm not even going to try.
My boss just recently told a story kind of like that. He worked at a bank, and this lady's check reader just would stop working for no particular reason. And so he's in there and he's, messing around, he's unplugging, he's, updating things, he's doing that. And he's like, "Dad, would you just turn off that fan?" And he turns off the fan and the thing just started reading checks. It's like, the lady was going through menopause. So she was, she had the fan on like all the time. So yeah, he turned the fan off. Check reader just automatically started working. Magic. It's all magic.
An OnLogic server would have prevented that EM.
It would have. Buy OnLogic.
I operate on Logic.
We have one more pick, since I don't have one again. Brett, Micro Center. This is a good deal.
Yeah, it's a really good deal. And last week, if you reviewed the video, even though I'm wearing headphones, sometimes I can't hear properly because there's just words in my ears and I'm just not listening. Jeremy was trying to explain that it was in Canadian dollars, and I was fixated on the wrong dollar figure.
I tried to set you straight, but you were so adamant.
No. I was just I don't know what happened. I don't want to talk about it anymore. That's as much as I'm willing to admit. But I'm willing to redeem myself and recommend that somebody go out and buy a 9900K. Again, homage to Jeremy. Thank you very much. But this time, locals only.
Yes.
Locals only. Wander into your local Micro Center and do pick it up for $359 plus your local tax out the door, which is converted to $479 Canadian, which is, I think, actually even cheaper than Jeremy's last week.
Yep.
I think we need to recommend the 9900K every week, someone, until it goes away.
It's in stock at my local store.
Thing now.
Yeah. Hey, $359 is pretty freaking good.
But it's what? It was 2018?
Yeah.
When this came out? Like, it's over 2 years old.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'm still looking at it, and especially with, a lot of the benchmarks coming out with the new video card that nobody really wants to talk about. It's a compelling buy.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
Jeremy, you wouldn't have to feel bad because you'd be getting the latest architecture from Intel by buying it, even though it is 2 years old.
What do you mean by latest architecture? Explain that, please.
Well, it's Skylake. So
I don't understand. It's 2 years old.
$359 for 8 cores, 16 threads. I mean, obviously, AMD fans are laughing at you for even considering this. Because you get a 3700X or something. But
Intel single core is still a little bit better. Single core.
This one probably overclocks. A lot of these 9900Ks,
it's a 5 gigahertz.
You could get it up to 5 gigahertz. Yeah, 5 gigahertz.
Maybe 5.1 on a golden chip. Maybe 5.1 ish.
It's all those pluses next to the process node.
I also have to circle back around and say, are we really wearing our Intel shill on the outside if we don't constantly recommend an Intel chip in this AMD age? I'm sorry. I don't think we can be the proper AMD or the proper Intel shill unless we're recommending an Intel chip almost every week.
Oh, yes, children. It is the age of AMD.
I said it.
The Celeron 300 is hard to beat for value. Overclocking headroom.
2 cores are better than 1.
That's it. I have no picks. I have nothing else. Do you guys have anything else?
I'm going to create a pick for you, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, you have been.
Yep.
If you read the picks in the show notes, I'm sure everybody goes to pcpro.com/podcast, reads Brett's posts on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
To read, because he adds things. He adds little extras that aren't in the YouTube comment or YouTube description. And he adds picks for me that are unauthorized. He claims they're my picks. I have nothing to do with them.
I can't stop myself. I don't even know who's doing it.
Can't be worse than some of the stuff I've picked for Ryan or Josh.
It's like another personality.
Or the stuff Alan used to pick for himself.
Nubbins.
Rubber Nubbins really did lower the bar.
You know what? I'm gonna start putting on Alan Malventano picks just to see if he notices.
Just old ones? Recycle old ones. That's all you need to do for mine. Just go back 10 years and use one of Alan's. So yeah, until next week, thank you for listening and or watching.